of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." They all were saddened, and one by one they said to him, "Surely not I." "Is it one of the 12?" he replied. "One who dips the matzah into the bowl with me." Mark 14:18-20.
On all other nights, we eat either sitting or reclining. Why on this night do we recline?
Reclining at a table was a sign of a free man in ancient times. Our fathers were freed on the Passover night by God's grace. Therefore, we can recline at the table.
The first Passover was celebrated in the land of captivity by a people still in bondage. The Lord spoke to Moses regarding the manner in which they were to eat the Passover meal.
"This is how you shall eat it. Your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it hurriedly. It is a Passover offering to the Lord." Exodus 12:11.
In fact, I think God's direct quote was, "You have 5 minutes or less to eat it." No. But today, as free people, we recline. Notice even Jesus made sure that his disciples reclined when they ate this meal. Because as free men, we can do that. As slaves, we have no choice how we sit. We have no choice how we eat. We have no choice what we do. One of the common traditions you see modern Jews do is wearing the yarmulke or the kippah. I'll remove mine for a minute. This was started a few hundred years ago by most of the super observant Jewish community, but back in Jesus' time was primarily done just by the priests. The symbolic nature of this was, we are slaves already because we choose to be slaves before God. It's a reminder that there's someone above us. I'm going to duck you into super Jewish secret tradition on how to get these things to stick. Bobby pin, or my preferred method, Velcro. And there is Velcro on the bottom of this one, so it stays nice and firm. We're going to go ahead and let us fill our cups again, once again. Go ahead and pour your cup for a second time. You're going to need the napkin in front of you for this part. It is really important to note that what is the attitude that we should have towards the Egyptians? What is the attitude we should have towards those who oppress the Jews? This is the part of the Seder where Jews mourn for the Egyptians that had to die and suffer. We do not gloat over our enemies. We are grateful for what God did. But we do not gloat over those that have fallen when God showed us mercy. And we should have suffered the same fate. It's also important to note, we're going to read these plagues. And the plagues, most of them, the Jews suffered as well. It wasn't until partway down that when they're no longer the Jews, when God wanted to show the separation to Pharaoh between the people. Also very important to note, Moses did not say, "Let my people go," as is commonly taught. That's an incomplete statement. Moses said, "Let God's people go and worship him for 3 days and we'll return to slavery." And Pharaoh said no to that. It wasn't until the end when God was mad and he said, "That's it. Your firstborn's going to die and they're leaving. And oh, by the way, they're taking everything you have on the way out." And you're going to be okay with it because you're going to beg them to leave. There were some Egyptians that did survive it. One of the common teachings within the Jewish culture is that there were non-Jews that stayed inside Jewish homes with them that night. That's when you see the blood put up of the doorpost and the lintel. How you will see that around town here in Los Angeles now, if I can find mine, here it is you may notice sometimes when you enter into a doorway around LA, Jerry's Deli, some Coffee Beans, other restaurants, a lot of cantors, or Jewish homes, you'll notice something similar to this. It could be different designs on the doorpost of a home. These still symbolize that blood. What's inside of them is actually Deuteronomy 6. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. Bind the scriptures upon your wrists and upon your forehead. Put them on the doorpost of your house. The entire chapter is actually listed inside. It is a symbol done, and before typically Jews move into a home, they will typically go and bless the house and pray for each of the rooms and put this on a doorpost, pretty much letting Satan know that he's not allowed inside. No, nothing bad is allowed inside because this is the home for the Lord. The reason they're slanted, so you can know, another reason that you see them slanted on the doorpost, they traditionally used to be up and down. The reason they are slanted is during the Crusades, the Crusaders turned them all into crosses. And so the Jewish community, to combat that, tilted them. And also during the Spanish Inquisition, historically, Jews weren't allowed to be Jews. It was convert to Catholicism or die. And they would actually keep their family history inside the mezuzahs as well. They would hide them so they could actually later still preserve their lineage. But as we fill these cups, and remember the terrible price that the Egyptians had to pay for Pharaoh's stubbornness, we remember that sacrifice, and we're going to recite each of these plagues. And as we do, we're going to dip a finger into the grape juice and drop a drop onto the napkin for each of the plagues to remind us. And this really is, for the Jewish community, a very sobering time. My favorite time I ever did this, I was actually at a hotel down in Irvine, and it was a group of Messianic Jews. There was a few more people than this. And all of a sudden a note got passed to the front. And different churches and different groups could buy tables to be there. And there was one group nobody knew had been there. And after the reciting of the plagues, a note got put up to the front. Turned out there was a group of Coptic Egyptians inside the building who actually sent up an apology note. And it was a very interesting night to see Egyptians and Jews coming together, remembering the plagues and remembering what God had done, but being bonded back together in love. So I'll say the plague, we'll repeat it, and then drop the drop. So the first plague was blood. Frogs. Gnats. Wild beasts. Cattle disease or mad cow. Boils. Hail and fire. Locusts. Darkness. And death of the firstborn. If you want to get an idea of what the locust plague might have looked like, you can Google. Currently in Egypt, there are 100 million locusts destroying their crops. About 1 million of them have made it into Israel, but they're not really doing too much damage in Israel because they're already full from Egypt, unfortunately. But it's pretty intense. So let us again recall the terrible price that was paid to purchase our own redemption. Because in addition to these 10 plagues, the death of the firstborn had to be done for us as well. And the price of freedom for the Israelites was the firstborn of Egypt. The price of freedom